Hi, my name is Hannah Sarate. I'm 19 years old and I'm the textbook definition of a fangirl. I spend my days looking at pictures of artists I like. I save tons of TikToks on my phone, and I spend a lot of time just memorizing useless facts about the topics I like. There's nothing wrong with being a fanboy or a fangirl. In fact, I bet most of you have been part of a fandom at some point of your life. It's an important part of growing up and developing your own personality. But how do we know when we have taken it a little bit too far and it might actually start affecting us on a psychological level? Well, let me tell you, there's nothing you should worry about unless you start to suspect that you or someone you're close to might start developing a parasocial relationship. A parasocial relationship is defined as a one sided relationship where one person extends emotional energy, interest, and time towards another one, and the other party has no idea of the other's existence. These relationships can be either beneficial or extremely harmful. It all depends on the ways it impacts the lives of those involved. As a lifelong fangirl myself, there has been a point in my life where I have developed a parasocial relationship. It did not affect me on an extreme level, but it definitely left a mark on the way I interact with others and with the media I consume. That's why I decided to make a whole research about this topic so we can identify the signs that it might become a real problem before it's far too late. Being a part of a fandom is not bad as long as we understand the difference between admiring someone and actually trying to be a part of their personal lives. In order to prevent a parasocial relationship from becoming a danger to our integrity, we have to be familiar with the psychological profile of those who are more likely to develop a parasocial relationship, as well as the positive and negative effects. Now, who do you think are the most vulnerable to develop a parasocial relationship? It might not take you by surprise to know that kids and teenagers are the main victims of this. New research made by ThriveWorks says that 51% of Americans have probably had these one-sided relationships, and 16% of them admit it. Most people just don't like to say it out loud. It also mentions that 20% of these respondents have experienced genuine grief when an artist they admire has passed away, and even more surprisingly, 26% reported feeling sad when a fictional character dies, not even a real person. It has been evident through the years that teenagers and young adults are more likely to experience parasocial relationships for various reasons. It can be either to connect with others, other people their same age, to find their own identity, or to find something to project themselves into. Preschoolers just clutching Elmo dolls, tweens fantasizing about interacting with TikTok influencers, and queer teenagers finding comfort in fictional characters from series like Heartstopper. All this stuff just hints at a development of a parasocial relationship. It all has to do with the way these groups of people interact with the media they consume. If we set regulations to what our kids are watching from a very young age, there's a higher probability that they will develop healthy relationships instead of toxic ones. If we do not pay attention on the content they consume, they're high risk of developing a parasocial relationship. And people who develop these relationships mostly use it as an escape from the stuff that torments them on their daily lives. Those who deal with depression, anxiety, or extreme feelings of loneliness can develop these problematic relationships, since it can get to a point where it overtakes this person's real life relationships. At worst, this can result in violence, physical violence directed towards themselves and others. But there are other signs, they don't really have to be extremely harmful, but it can go from financial difficulties to arguing on internet, the usual stuff, and also locking away from those who love them, so their loved ones and the people close to them. There are multiple examples of this on social media that can go from fans who get genuinely upset when the artist they like announce that they have a new romantic partner, And they can go from that to people who spend lots of money to buy the personal items, personal belongings from an artist. I'm looking at you, Franca Euro fans. But hey, let's remember that there are two sides of the same coin. There are tons of people who use parasocial relationships as a healthy coping mechanism and a way to solve their problems in a peaceful way. According to a 2017 study made for the National Library of Medicine, parasocial relationships can help people with low self-esteem feel more confident and come closer to their ideal self. Those with avoidant attachment styles usually find a character that has a desirable personality and try to imitate them and to project themselves into it, and also find certain comfort in finding characters who are like them, who have the same type of personality or the same lifestyle. Feeling attached to something or someone can create a sense of comfort, which is crucial for the healthy relationship and the healthy development of someone's personality and the way they interact with others. This is why we should never judge someone who is going through a parasocial relationship, no matter if it's a toxic one or if it's a healthy one, since we don't know what's going on their personal lives and the way this affects them. It can be positive even though it doesn't seem like it. As we could see, parasocial relationships are one of the most common ways of escapism used by teenagers and young adults. It can cross the line from harmless to toxic very easily and very fast, which is why we should pay attention to those who are close to us as well to ourselves, and the way we mix the stuff we watch online with our daily lives. Being a part of a fandom is not bad as long as we understand the difference between admiring someone and actually trying to be involved in their day-to-day lives. And remember to not be afraid to explore fandoms. You never know when your next obsession may find you.